Well, it's a cold day here in Michigan today. It's negative, feels like negative 11, but 3 degrees. Poor diesel. It's so cold. But today we're gonna fix a 2008 PT Cruiser on this wonderful day. So what we have here is a 2008 PT Cruiser. We're going to be doing the front brakes today. Okay, I went ahead and I pulled the tire off. I'm assuming you can do that without any problem. If you can't, then you probably shouldn't even attempt this job. Okay, but here we are. We're looking at the front brake on a PT Cruiser. And if you look at it, it looks a little worn. It's not bad. The pad still has quite a bit of life on it yet. But what we have is going on is the car is shimming in the steering wheel, and you can also feel some pulsating in the pedal when it's applied, which tells me that this rotor is warped, most likely warped. And so I'm just going to replace it. I'm not going to try to have it skim cut. It feels like at least a 30-second there, and to clean up a warped rotor, it could take probably quite a bit of metal, and I didn't want to. It's already getting pretty thin, and these holes are pretty important. What they do is they disperse the heat that this unit causes, and it's very important that that wall don't get too thin, because it's just going to warp again. It's not going to even get me. I probably won't even get close to what the wear is on this time if I just skim this down and put new pads on. If I had somebody turn the rotor down, I see a lot of auto places offer turning rotors down. But if you can spend the extra 35 bucks, it's well worth it. Just pick up a new rotor. As you can see, you know, it almost looks a little thicker, but it's going to be your max thickness, and that's what you want. You want to be able to disperse that heat to get the most value out of your replacing your parts. Okay, so to do this job, it's relatively pretty easy. You do not have to take off the brake line and bleed the brakes or nothing like that. It's really not that difficult. There's only 2 bolts that hold the caliper on. Should be this bolt here, and that would be a 14 millimeter, and this bolt, and of course there's one on the bottom side, as you can see. Okay, and now to remove the rotor, we have to take this bracket off that's holding the caliper, and the bracket has just got 2 bolts. They're right here. There's one here, and again one down there, and that size is 18 millimeter. And the other kind of tools you need for this job is a C-clamp, a ratchet. I got an extension in case I need it, and I got a brass hammer. I usually use brass on steel because it makes less damage to the steel. Not like it matters, but it's just a habit. And then of course we got new pads. As you can see, they're that thick. So, you know, it looks like I got maybe 50%, maybe a little more for my money, for my value of my part. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start this project. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove these 2 bolts here that hold the caliper on, and again those were 14 millimeter. And as soon as I remove that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pry out the caliper. And the best way to do it is kind of wedge either screwdriver or a pry bar, whatever you may have around the house. In my case, I have this pry bar, and what it was is it was a tire iron that broke, and instead of throwing it out, I just keep trying to find a use for it. And the funny thing is I've had that since my first car. My first car, this took a tire off, and it was a 1976 Trans Am. Pretty cool car. But anyway, that's the only thing I have left of the car. I figure I'd keep something. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start the project. We're gonna remove the 2 bolts, and we'll get right back. Okay, I removed the 2 bolts. There they are. They're holding the caliper on. Now I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna get this thing out of here. And see, that's all I gotta do is just slide it up like that. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Plan on catching that, but it's okay. I didn't hurt it. It's usually a pretty strong hose on it. Got metal ends. Okay, and I'm just gonna rest that up here like that, and it'll stay out of my way for now. Okay, and next thing I'm gonna do, and then we can take these pads right out too, and they're just gonna pull right out. Apparently nothing's cooperating today. We'll try that. I wedged in there pretty good. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove these 2 bolts back here, and we'll get the rotor off that way. And it's just a bracket, and these are adjustable as your pads wear down, and it allows movement. Okay, and again, those are 18 millimeter in the back there. Okay, so apparently He-Man had put those bolts in, so I had to grab a breaker bar to get these bolts out. But once I got them out, this is fairly loose, and it slides. It comes right off pretty easy. Not much holding it on. And then the disc is loose already. I didn't even have to tap on it. Sometimes you have to tap on these to get them to break up, or break loose. But this one was fairly easy to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll inspect the bearing. See if we got any motion. You know, it's not bad. I don't hear any whining or grinding when it's going down the road, so it feels pretty stiff yet. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll put the new disc on, and then just do it backwards. Put that bracket over it. It's gonna be pretty hard for me to videotape it for you because I'm gonna have to use 2 hands. But we're just gonna put the new disc on and then the bracket, and we'll show you from that point. Okay, so the bracket is on, bolts are tight, and what I had to do is I just tipped this thing all the way up, got the first one to line up, put about 4 threads on, and then lined up the bottom, so I had plenty of movement. It wasn't too bad. And now our next step would be to put a C-clamp on our caliper. Let's see here. Sorry there. Okay. We're going to use this C-clamp, and and we're gonna put it in there and push our piston back. But before we do that, what you're gonna wanna do is take the cap off your master cylinder. Okay, so we're in the right hand side of the car, and there is our brake reservoir, and we're just going to remove the cap, and that way any pressure that's in the line that you are pushing off that piston, is not pushing against this cap. It makes it much tougher. So make it easy on yourself. Take the cap off. Okay, so I got my C-clamp on, and you want to get it as central as possible. You want that piston to go in straight. You don't want it to bind. And another thing is, though, be careful of this seal right here. You don't want to puncture that. So, but it turns pretty easy. I can turn it with one hand. And we're going to push this piston back flush to the face. Not all the way, but I'll show you here. Just most of the way here. Just go so you're hand tight with one hand. That's plenty of pressure. And then just back it off. Okay, now that our caliper is ready, we're going to install our pads. And these pads that I bought from Advanced Auto, they didn't come with new shims. So these are the old ones. And they look okay. They're a little dirty. They're not torn or ripped. No sharp edges anywhere other than what they normally are. And the way they go in is they just go on the edge here and they slide in there. I mean, you got that little clip there, slide down in there. And just push them down with your fingers. They go in pretty easy. And then you're going to go ahead and put the top one in, do the same thing, and install your pads. Now your pads, I bought these kind of pads. They're organic pad. Supposed to be a little better pad. They got this cutout in the center, which is I like that because it's releasing the heat. It's not solid. The old ones, if you look at the old ones, there's just one solid mass hitting there, creating heat, and it's not dispensing the heat at all. It's all built up in the center pretty bad. It's going to be your warmest part. So these have a cut through. It's kind of nice. If you can get one, go with that route. If not, no big deal. It is what it is. It's just your rotor will warp more often or sooner than without it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this other shim in, and then we're going to drop these pads in, and these pads go in pretty simple. They just drop right in here like that against your shims, and then your caliper will go over. But we'll go ahead and we'll put that other shim in, and we'll get them in place, and put the caliper on after that. Okay, so the pads are in, and all I did is I put the one corner in first, and then this side here I just lightly tapped with my bronze and tapped her down. I did that on both sides, got them both down. So we're all set on the pads. The next step would be to put the caliper back on. And as you can see, these two things here are gonna fit with your caliper. And the way they work, they're gonna just slide in this big notch here. So you have all this room, and there's lots of play. If I grab a let's see, this is an old one, and this old one, you see, I mean, you're bound to hit it. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't go in there. It doesn't go inside there. It goes just inside here. Lots of room. Not too difficult. So we're going to take this caliper now and slide it over the new pads and apply the bolts. Okay, so the caliper is on. And the way I did it is I slid it on and I put in the bottom bolt first and a couple threads like that. And then I was able to pull the top in and line this one up. It lined up pretty easily. It wasn't too bad. And now I'm going to tighten them up, and voila, we got our brake with new components and our shimmy in the car steering wheel while plowing the brake should stop. Also, the pedal was shaking. So those two problems should go away with new rotors in the front, and we redid the rear. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write something. Subscribe to my videos. Thanks for watching.